Hello, and welcome to Getting Started with mimik-edge-engine. We have a couple of things to do first, so let's take a look at our to-do list. First, we need to do our environment pre-setup to make sure everything is set up in order to get Edge up and running. Then we'll do environment setup, which is installing some of the key components of EdgeEngine. Then we'll deploy our first Hello World microservice. So let's get started. Now we'll jump into the environment pre-setup. So first, we will need to go and create a Mimik developer account. First, we will go and open up a browser of our choice. I'm going to open up Chrome, and we'll navigate to mimik.com. Once we're on the home page of Mimik, we need to go to Developer Portal. This is where we will create our developer account. So we'll click on Developer Portal here. And we will need to go to Console. Once we click this, we will be presented with this page. If you already have an account, you can just log in here. But if this is your first time, you will need to create an account. So we'll click Create Account button, and we'll place an email in here. We will get a code sent to us. So I will go to my email and check for this code. Sometimes this code may be sent to your spam folder, so make sure you check that as well. So now that I have entered the code, I will click on Verify. And now I have created my first Mimik account. Be sure to save your password for your records. Next on the to-do list, we're going to install Node and npm. So we have a couple of options of installing Node. We're going to go with installing it via the package manager. So what we need to do is we need to go to the Node website. We'll open it up in a new tab. And we need to go to Mac installer because we're in a Mac. It'll automatically download the proper version. We'll show it in Finder and we'll install it. We'll agree, continue, install it for us. So now we have Node in here and we also have npm in here. So we can close this and move the installer to the trash. Once we do that, we can verify that Node is installed correctly by opening up iterm or terminal of your choice, and we'll do node-v, and we should get the proper version. Doesn't matter if yours is the same as mine, just make sure you get a version number when you input node-v, and we can verify npm by placing npm-v, and we get the proper npm version as well. Again, it doesn't have to be the exact same, just make sure you're getting a proper output like this. So now we have verified that you have Node and npm installed. Next, we'll move on to installing Git. You can install Git by going to the browser and going to the Git SCM page and to downloads and following the instructions for downloading it on macOS here. You can use macOS native homebrew. So once you've gone through those instructions, you can again verify that Git is installed by opening up terminal and doing, or terminal of your choice. I'm choosing to use iterm. You can do git --version. And you should get a legitimate versioning for Git. So make sure that your setup returns this value when you input Git version on your machine as well. Next on the to-do list is to install an IDE of your choice. We're going to be using this IDE to write some code in the future, so it's nice to have something easy to use and clear for our coding. You could install an IDE of your choice. You can install the IDE by going to Google, opening up a browser and going to Google and searching for Visual Studio Code for Mac. And you can download Visual Studio Code for your Mac or any other operating system over here. Next on the to-do list is to install Postman. This is optional. The reason why we use Postman is because we're going to be working with APIs, and Postman is a great application to visually see your APIs and build APIs and call them efficiently and smoothly using a graphical user interface. This is completely optional, but we highly recommend that you use something to call your APIs. Let's move on to environment setup now. The first thing to do on our to-do list for our environment setup is to install mimik-edge-engine. In order to install mimik-edge-engine, we will go to our browser and go to GitHub, and we'll go to the search bar. In the search bar, we'll search for Edge Engine. We will go to users to see the official user for mimik-edge-engine, and here we can see a list of all the supported platforms. Since we're on macOS, we will click on Edge Engine macOS, and we will go through the README of how to install it. So we need to download the latest release, so we'll go here and download this tar file. Let's go back to the README. What do we need to do next? We need to create a new directory and move the package to the newly created directory. So we'll do that now. I will open up Finder and go to my desktop and go to this and create a new folder. We'll call it Edge Engine. And I'll open up another window and go to Downloads where I have the package here, and I'll move it into Edge Engine. So now it's moved into there. Open terminal and navigate to the newly directed window that has the downloaded tar file. So I'll go into here, open up a new window, and we need to untar it. So let's see if it's here. So that's the name of it right here. I'll just copy the name, and we'll do tar xvf edge engine. Okay, press enter. So a couple of files were created. We'll do an ls, so we see that start.sh there. So the next command we need to run is start.sh to start it. We'll do /start.sh, and it successfully starts. Next, we'll look at mimik-edge-cli to associate and verify association. Edge is installed, we will need another tool. This tool is called mimik-edge-cli. It is a command line tool that we'll use for association and microservice deployment in future instructions as well. So let's get started with installing it. So we need to go to our browser, and we need to search for mimik-edge-cli. It's on the official npm.js website. We'll click on the first entry. We'll copy the install instructions command here to the clipboard. Make sure it's copied to the clipboard. We will go to our terminal, and we'll paste it here, but we'll make one edit. We will install it globally. So we'll add the G flag in between I and the package name. So make sure that you install that G, you input that G flag there. So it should be npm i-g mimik-edge-cli, and we'll press enter. This will install mimik-edge-cli globally, so whenever you open up your terminal, you'll be able to call it. Make sure you use sudo npm i-g You may need to use sudo. I had to use sudo. Now this will install it. So now we have mimik-edge-cli installed. Now that we have Edge running, all we need to do in our new window is run mimik-edge-cli account get me. And we see that we have our Edge version here. So this is a successful message. We have the device's, our machine's name, our version that we're running for Edge. And I want you to note that account ID, the value is empty right now. It's because we have not associated. Next, we'll go and use the mimik-edge-cli tool to associate our account and a project with this Edge engine. We'll now move on to creating the first Mimic project. What we need to do is go back to console. So we'll open up our browser again over here. We're at the console and we need to click on create new project. Let's call this our test project. Create. We'll open up the test project and we'll click on get ID token. We need to copy this value here. So we'll copy it. I've copied it. And we'll go back to our terminal and we'll run mimik-edge-cli account get edge access token -t to provide the token, and we'll paste the token here and we'll press enter. And we get a successful access token. So once you see this, you know that you've got a successful token. We need to copy this token, copy, and now we need to run mimik-edge-cli account associate -t, and we need to provide this access token that we just got. So copy this token and paste it after the -t flag. And this means that you have successfully associated the account. So in order to check, now we can run get me call again. So mimik-edge-cli account get me, press enter. Now we see that the account ID has a value. So now this means that your Edge engine is associated with your account and project. We'll move on to Hello World microservice deployment. We'll first need to clone a Git repository. So first we'll go to GitHub in our browser over here, and inside your browser type in, if you're on GitHub you should see this, do \edge capital M microservice, and you'll be led to this page here. And we'll click on starter microservice. We'll need to clone this repository. So we'll click on code here and we'll have it on HTTPS. We'll copy it to clipboard. And now we need to go back to our terminal. We'll clear screen and we'll navigate to this directory here. And we'll create a quick directory called a microservice. And we'll go into it. Oh, sorry, git clone starter microservice. So now that's cloned, we can do a ls and we see it in there. We'll go into cd starter microservice. We'll do an ls. We should see that there should be a readme here, source, and all its and a package.json. So now all we need to do is do npm install. We'll use npm install to install everything, all its packages. Now we have all the packages installed. We'll go to our IDE and we'll go into microservice, starter microservice, and we'll take a look at the README to see how we can build it. So we just ran npm I, which is npm install. So the next thing we need to run is npm run build. So we'll go back to our terminal and we'll do npm run build. And we'll just wait for the microservice to build. Don't worry if you have any warnings. Now we'll run the next command, which was npm run package to package the container. So if it was packaged correctly, take a note at the bottom line. It says the build was outputted to build folder and its name is microservice v1.1.00.tar. So this, we can go back to here and we can take a look. There's a build folder and we have that microservice v1.1. So this is your containerized microservice and we'll deploy this onto the mimik-edge-engine. Now that we have successfully built our microservice, we'll now move on to deploying the microservice. So we'll actually go back to the README of the Git repository that we cloned, which was a starter microservice, and we see that after npm run package that we ran to package the container, which finished off the build process. We have a couple more instructions that we can use mimik-edge-cli to successfully complete. So we'll go back to our terminal. We'll clear it out so it's fresh, and we need to get a token again. Unless you have your token already saved, don't worry. We can get it again by just running mimik-edge-cli account get edge access token -t. If you have your ID token on hand, you can use that, but don't worry if you need to go get it again. All you need to do is go back to the projects, your Mimik developer console, go back to your project that we created, click get ID token, and copy this ID token, and paste it after the T flag. And that's how you get a new access token. So we'll keep that access token there. Now we'll just close this and we'll run this. So we need to provide the path to the image. So when we built it, I mentioned that we have an image that was built and it was put in the build folder. So this is the image that we need to provide this path to mimik-edge-cli so it can deploy this mimik-edge microservice. So what we need to do is mimik-edge-cli image deploy image flag, and we need to provide the path to the image, which is in build, and its name is microservice.tar. Okay, and now we need to provide the token, and the token is right here. We'll copy it and we'll paste it and we'll press enter. So this is successful. So now make sure you look for this message, successful deployment. We have successfully deployed that microservice, and we can see in the README as well that it says once it's deployed we should get a message similar to this, which is very similar. Now we have a couple more instructions. So we need to navigate to the start.json file and we need to change a couple of things. So I have the start.json file can be found here at the root of the starter microservice directory. So where you have it stored, starter microservice and start.json. I already have it opened here. So I'll take it back to the original. This is how you will probably see it. And we will change a couple of things. So we need to first copy the name of the microservice, which is this right here. And we'll go here and we need to paste it for container name and image name. And for our path, we recommend keeping it simple by pressing \sample -v1. So that's \sample v1. We'll save the file. Now we need to go back to the README and deploy this with these configurations. Container, so we need to follow this command, mimik-edge-cli container deploy, and we need to copy this, paste it here, start.json, add the token, and the token we had from before the same edge access token that we've used before that we got here. Copy that token, provide it after the T, and deploy. So take a note at this MCM base API path. So this is the path that we will use to call the hello world microservice. So we'll copy this. And now this is where we will use Postman to create our API requests and call that endpoint, the microservice endpoint running on Edge. So we'll first close anything from before so it's fresh. So we'll open up a new request, make sure it's get. Inside the get, we will input local host colon and place the port, which is 8083, and we'll paste that endpoint that we copied from our terminal, which is right here. Now all we need to do is press send. Oh, make sure to provide a closing \, press send, and we get hello world. So we know that the microservice is running on edgeEngine now, and we've successfully deployed the microservice onto edgeEngine as well, making us able to call it. So if we go back to our README, we have successfully called the microservice. Next, we'll talk about how to modify the microservice to get more information out of Edge. In order to modify the microservice, we need to copy a bit of code, do some editing, and redeploy the microservice, and then we'll call the new endpoint. So all we need to do is I'll go back to our browser again and go to our developer console, and we'll click on Learn, and we'll navigate to Tutorials, and we'll go to our first Edge microservice. We will scroll all the way to the bottom. We've done all of this already. And what we need to do is copy this code right here, modifying microservice. So if we go to that page, modifying microservice, we need to copy this code. So we'll just copy it. And we need to go back to our IDE. And we need to modify source index. And we need to paste this code at the bottom here. So just go scroll to the bottom of the index.in source directory and paste that code, and be sure to save it. So what this code is doing is adding a new endpoint called local devices. So just like how we had in Postman, we had sample v1, we will have local devices here, and we'll be able to get some more information instead of just getting a simple text printout. So what we need to do, we first need to rebuild and redeploy it. So now that we know that index is saved, we'll save it. We need to follow the instructions to rebuild and redeploy, which is also in the README again. These two steps, to rebuild and to package the container. So we'll go back to here and we'll do npm run build. We'll wait a few moments for it to build. And then we'll do npm run package. Again, that new microservice has overwritten the old one, so the path still remains the same. So what we now need to do is deploy the image, which is this command right here, CLI image deploy. So mimik-edge-cli image deploy, set the flag image, and set the path to the flag, which is in build microservice. And we need to provide the token, which was, if we scroll back up, we used it earlier. Just copy the end of this, paste it, and we have successfully deployed again. We do not need to change it again. All we need to do is just run the same command again, because we've already set our config variables to the names, to the container name and the image name. So all we need to do is run container deploy and set the path for the payload to the start.json, providing with the token. So I will just, since everything is still the same, I'll just navigate back to that call that I had here, which is right here, and I'll press send. So now that I have successfully deployed the new microservice with the new endpoint, just make sure you can copy the path again if you don't have it. So I'll copy this path and I'll go into Postman. It's the exact same as before, but just to be sure, I'll paste it again here, sample v1, and our new microservice endpoint was local devices. Oh, we're missing a bearer token. So we need to go into here and we need to press bearer token, and inside here we need to input the token that we've been using with mimik-edge-cli, the edge access token, which is this right here. Make sure to copy everything, paste it into token, press send. Now we can look at the response and we see that we have the information of edgeEngine on my device. So I have my device name is this. It's telling me my my device's characteristics here. So take a look at all of this. This is general information that Edge has for your machine. I have a service on here, which is my microservice. This is the end. This is the name of my microservice, and some other information. So now if we go back to our original README, we see that we have no steps left. So congratulations, you have configured your machine and environment to be able to run Edge and Edge microservices. So now you can create your own microservices, follow the same steps of rebuilding them and redeploying them, and calling their new endpoints to test the APIs. Thank you for watching.